You simply must hear this. One reader felt compelled, absolutely compelled, to point out, and I quote with the gravity it apparently deserves, I felt it was very important to mention that the author used female a ridiculous amount of times. Female is an adjective. Can we do better, please?
Right, a grammatical point, raised with considerable feeling, it seems. An intense opening salvo for our discussion today.
Intense. It's practically a manifesto hidden within a book review. But it sets the stage, doesn't it, for the kind of passionate reactions this book seems to provoke.
We are, I believe, discussing Untamed Vixen by Tessa James and Luna Pierce. It appears to be a contemporary mafia reverse harem romance, part of the Sinners and Angels series according to one source.
Reverse harem. Like collecting Pokémon, one reviewer actually said that, gotta catch 'em all. Except these Pokémon are heavily armed, brooding, and possibly involved in light racketeering. Some found the mafia a bit light. Mafia light, like diet organized crime, with more feelings, presumably, or maybe fewer feelings. It's confusing.
The premise, as described by readers, involves a financially struggling young woman named June, working multiple jobs, dealing with difficult roommates, who then has separate, impactful encounters with three distinct men, Dominic, Magnus, and Cohen.
Struggling. Oh, the struggle was real. So real, one reader did the math on her income versus expenses, 3 jobs, only $600 a month. And flat out speculated, maybe she's on drugs. A bold accusation based purely on fictional finances, dedication, or possibly projection.
An imaginative leap. Regardless, she discovers these 3 men are deeply connected within a dangerous mafia organization embroiled in a power struggle. She becomes entangled.
Entangled. Like a fly in a very muscular, tattooed, possibly age, Gap spiderweb owl. And speaking of entanglement, the pacing of this entanglement seems to be ground zero for reader disagreements.
Indeed, there seems to be significant disagreement regarding the pacing and plot development. One reader felt, quote, the book kept me pulled in the whole time, while another stated, quite emphatically, the plot moved faster than the speed of light. It was overly dramatic because of the pace.
Faster than light? That's not a plot. That's a particle accelerator accident. People complaining about plot holes. Of course there are holes. Things moving that fast leave vortexes. Little narrative black holes probably sucked Magnus' hair color right out. One poor soul apparently went back several times trying to find it and just gave up. Picked one of themselves. Reader agency.
Right. A reader did mention difficulty ascertaining Magnus' hair color. However, others called the book addictive. Devoured this book was a common sentiment. Stayed up all night.
Addictive like whatever June was supposedly spending her mysterious $600 a month on. See, it all connects. The speed, the questionable finances, the potential substance abuse suggested by concerned readers. It's a tapestry.
A tapestry woven with strong opinions, certainly, particularly regarding June herself. The central character elicited powerful, often contradictory reactions, praised by some as, and I quote, a slay cunty queen book with a badass take. No shit female main character, this is it.
This is it, yes. A queen, specifically slay cunty queen, a very modern praise, very evocative.
Conversely, others found her, quote, annoying, stupid, making nonsensical decisions, and even a pick-me girl. One simply stated, this girl's an idiot.
An idiot queen. A glorious paradox. She's described as both badass and making stupid decisions. She's independent, but then asks for approval on a dress. She's fragile like a bomb. One reviewer poetically declared, so, let me get this straight. She's a sentient, beautifully dressed pipe bomb with abandonment issues stemming from puppy love at age 12, which some found, shall we say, unconvincing, and questionable taste in men she just met, like Elsa from Frozen, but with more explosions and tequila. Someone quoted, when one door closes, drink tequila. That might explain the decision-making process.
An energetic interpretation. The tequila quote was noted by a reader, yes. as was the comparison to Elsa's line about marrying a man you just met. The insta-love aspect was another major point of division.
Insta-love or insta-obsession? Readers couldn't agree. Did the connections feel genuine? This soul-level devotion someone swooned over? Or was it just superficial? You can't be in love after a couple days, one pragmatist pointed out, especially when they're apparently willing to kill each other for her almost immediately. Seems excessive. Like bringing a bazooka to a knife fight, relationship-wise.
The authenticity of the relationships was definitely debated, which brings us back to the intensity of reader reactions, including that earlier point about language.
Ah yes, the female debacle. The internalized misogyny accusation, very serious business. Almost as serious as the reader who declared, with palpable outrage, "I was robbed of a threesome." Honestly, who does that?
Robbed.
Like a Brinks truck heist, but instead of gold bars, they made off with implied group intimacy. The sheer injustice. I picture this reader pacing, dialing 911. "Yes, officer. I'd like to report a theft. My expectations, they're gone, vanished, poof. They were promised darkness, spice. And instead, some got vanilla."
The lack of certain explicit scenes, specifically a full group scene, was a point of contention for some, yes, while others found what was present quite graphic. Or vanilla, as you said, or even painful to read, according to one reviewer unhappy with the repetitive use of the word whole.
Painful? See, violence isn't just in the plot, it's in the prose. And speaking of violence, oh boy!
Reviewers frequently mentioned a specific scene involving June and significant violence. Reactions were intense. Some found its stomach turning, others seemed to approve quite strongly. Trigger warnings for graphic violence, gore, even torture were noted by several readers, comparing it to, well, unpleasant things.
Stomach turning. Yet someone else declared, "I love the scene where she did what she did. I could see myself in her shoes doing the same thing. Loved it." While possibly kicking and squealing, another reaction mentioned, were they squealing with delight or abject terror? The ambiguity is thrilling, and imagine the calm internal monologue someone described calmly narrating brutal murder and torture as cathartic. That's a unique coping mechanism, I suppose? Very efficient. Saves on therapy bills, probably. Just gotta find someone who really deserves it, apparently.
The comparison to catharsis was indeed made by a reader. It seems this scene is a major focal point. Divisive, certainly. The warnings about graphic depictions of violence, murder, and torture were quite explicit in several reviews.
Divisive. It sounds like the literary equivalent of putting ketchup on a steak. People have opinions. Strong ones, probably involving all caps. But hey, amidst the chaos, there was praise too, right? Gotta give credit where it's due, allegedly.
Despite the narrative whiplash described by some, reviewers did consistently praise the distinct personalities of the male leads. Dominic, the older, salt and pepper leader type.
Salt and pepper. Though one reader was initially confused, thinking he aged prematurely because June first described him as only a few years older before the double her age reveal. Details. They matter. Some wanted him gruffier, apparently. Not gruffy enough. Maybe he needed more gravel in his voice, or just needed to scowl more during the vanilla Eiffel Tower scene someone mentioned.
The specific acts were mentioned, yes. Then there was Cohen, the childhood love, source of much angst.
Angst. 10 years of angst. Because he left when they were 12? 10 years? That's not angst. That's a grudge holding a Guinness World Record. Some readers found it, quote, dumb as heck.
And Magnus, often called a cinnamon roll or golden retriever. Apparently a fan favorite.
A golden retriever, fetching sticks, chasing cars? Probably sheds everywhere. But sweet. The perfect golden retriever boyfriend, someone gushed. Unlike that Simon fellow.
Ah, yes. An interesting side character, Simon Beckett. Positioned as an enemy, yet readers seemed intrigued. Described as potentially misunderstood, helpful even. Some even wanted him added to the relationship dynamic. compared him to Damon Salvatore.
Added, like finding an extra McNugget in the box, a delightful surprise, or a stalker. The line seems blurry here. Okay, listeners, Heartbook Radio wants to know, straight from the reviewer, Hive Mind, this Simon fella, dangerous rival with cheekbones like Damon Salvatore, or just a lonely, slightly crazy, but more infatuated guy looking for love in all the wrong criminal enterprises? Let us know your theories. Someone probably thinks he just needed a stern talking, too.
I merely note the reader's sympathy expressed. It's curious, especially given his antagonistic role, much like the ending itself, which also seemed to leave readers wanting. Described as abrupt HFN fizzling out, leaving plot holes like Vincent's employer unresolved.
Fizzling out, like a damp firework, after all that speed of light plotting and cathartic violence. How rude. And the final line from Simon to June, how the heck can we just leave it at that? Readers cried, cliffhangers in a supposed standalone. The nerve.
So, Untamed Vixen. The reactions suggest extreme polarization, praised independence clashing with accusations of stupidity, addictive pacing versus narrative chaos, relationships deemed soul-deep or utterly superficial, graphic violence noted alongside complaints of vanilla spice. A mixed bag, wouldn't you say?
Mixed bag. It's a glorious, chaotic mess. It's Wattpad energy you can't stop reading, apparently. It's fragile like a bomb. It's got readers questioning character sanity and calculating fictional budgets. Therefore, my official Heartbook Radio rating for Untamed Vixen is 3 out of 5 graphic scenes that made my stomach turn in a good way. Moments, plus a bonus point for the sheer, unadulterated rage of being robbed of a threesome, minus half a point for every time a reader had to Google reverse harem. Final score. 3.5 confused but devoted golden retrievers. Woof.
3.5 confused golden retrievers, right? A precise metric.
The most precise.
Well, based on the sheer volume of contradictory opinions logged by readers, badass versus idiot, addictive versus rushed, hot versus vanilla, cathartic violence versus just gross, it seems Untamed Vixen is one of those books you likely need to experience yourself to determine which side of the passionate divide you fall on.
Exactly. Are you Team Slay, Cunty Queen, or Team Idiot Pick? Me girl, Team Insta, Love Soulmates, or Team Needs More Therapy, and maybe a restraining order? Team Robbed or Team Perfectly Satisfied? You secretly are. You gotta dive into the beautifully violent, possibly nonsensical chaos yourself. And tune in next week, folks, when we tackle a historical romance that reviewers claim features a duke whose primary character trait is an unhealthy obsession with artisanal cheese. You won't want to miss the curdled drama. This is Heartbook Radio.
Imbob.
And Imre, stay weird, bookworms.